Hey there, welcome to Hiker Homily number 27 for the week of July 17th. Let me see if I can adjust this just a little bit. Hey, kind of a simple Hiker Homily. Just a couple little things I want to mention. I did get out backpacking last week. What do you know? We actually made it on that Boy Scout trip to Bear Lake, which is up by Pinecrest, California. It was an interesting trip. It was I considered a successful trip. We had to cut it one night short because the good old Sierras did their thing and gave us a hello wind. Always got to have the wind when we're shooting outside, right? The good old Sierras gave us their usual tricks and threw a pretty heavy thunderstorm our way, even though the forecast was for awesome weather in the 80s and just fantastic, and we did have that almost the whole time. We got to Bear Lake about 11 o'clock in the morning, and almost the entire day had weather up there in the high 70s, low 80s, and the kids, the boys, the scouts, they swam in the lake, had a great time, a lot of fun, and at about 3 o'clock we saw the storm front moving in on us. Had a group discussion. That's the Boy Scout thing, and a couple of us adult leaders were like, I can tough out a storm. I've done it before in the Sierras, but most of the others, no, and I was fine with that because just because I have toughed out a storm doesn't mean I necessarily want to do it again or have to do it again. So we broke camp on the second day and came on back, and the boys did great with that. But we did get to enjoy a lot, and the hike was fantastic. Getting to Bear Lake, just amazing. It makes you work. It was a working hike. You had to climb up over a ridge and get along the ridge and through some areas and things like that. Not a long distance, but decent work because you're climbing elevation and stuff like that. But once you get to the lake, man, what a reward! It's fantastic. So we got out there. And a couple of things about that hike. And also looking back at my other big hike this summer, the Lost Coast Trail, that put in my mind the little subject for this week, which is going to be what some people consider optional items for backpacking, and why I do, me personally, just my opinion, why I use these optional items. And it just kind of goes down to, it's not just comfort. It's like I've said before. I do backpacking because it's wonderful out there and I want to enjoy it. And so anything that helps me enjoy that and not get to a point where, oh my gosh, this is too much. This isn't fun. This is, and I'm not talking about just working. I mean, I worked my butt off to get up that hill to get to Bear Lake. I did it at my usual slow pace and just kind of got up there and took my breaks and was winded, but I never got to a point where I hate this. Every time I took a break, I was looking around and it was just beautiful. I was enjoying it. It was wonderful. Optional items. For some of us, they're not really an option as far as I'm concerned, and things like that. So the first one I'm going to give a shout out to is my hydration bladder. And the hydration bladder I have, some of you who have been following my channel know that I was contacted by a company called Pioneer Bear Camp, and they offered me their product, which is a hydration bladder, to review, to give a fair review to. They didn't pay me to give them a good review. They didn't, they don't sponsor me in any way. They just said, hey, we've seen your channel. Would you like to try our product? And if you like it, let people know. If you don't, sorry. So I'm like, yeah, that's kind of exciting. That's kind of cool. I got this little dinky channel, and I've got a pretty good number of followers on Instagram and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of neat. I'd like to try it. And on day hikes, I had used it, and to some success. I enjoyed it. I really liked having a hydration bladder. I'm the type of hiker that I always use water bottles, always. And so the hydration bladder kind of opened some things up. It's like, yeah, it's got its limits maybe, but at the same time, boy, that's convenient. You just, you don't have to stop. You don't have to reach back to try and get water bottles. You don't got to take the pack off to get to your water. It's right there on the hose. Drink while you're on the go even. Really fantastic. But at the time, I did not have a backpack for backpacking. My day pack was set up to handle a hydration bladder. It had the little pocket in there that you can hang it in and all that kind of thing. And, the place where the tube comes out and all that. My backpacking backpack did not have that. Well, I did pick up a new backpack this year, the Coyote 80, and it is set up for a hydration bladder. And so I used it for the first time on this Bear Lake trip, and let me tell you, I am an idiot for not doing it sooner. Absolutely amazing and helpful to have that. And this is not an ad for Pioneer Bear Camp. It's a great hydration bladder. I really like it. I'm going to stick with that brand and that company. It's take a look at my review. It's on my channel. I just like the materials it's made out of. It's a good one, and they had just recently, I will give a little shout out here to them because they've earned it. They just recently took a bunch of people's suggestions and have improved their product even more. Now their product has things where you can put your Sawyer Squeeze or Sawyer Mini right on the connection hose and things, so you don't have to do the whole filtering and squeeze the filtered water into the hydration bag. You can just fill that hydration bag now, put it in your backpack, and then put your filter right on the drinking hose. So awesome. And I'm going to be, just full disclosure, I'm probably going to be ordering one of those newer bags that can do that, because I use the Sawyer filter system, and so that'll be fantastic. And it's just this last trip just sold me. Okay. And but that also brought into light what an idiot I am for not doing this sooner, because let me tell you, having that hydration bag in my backpack would have been such a huge help on the Lost Coast Trail. The new backpack I have, I'm really happy with it. It's a good backpack. Feels good. I like how it feels when I'm carrying it, and things like that. But the way it is configured, I cannot get to the water bottles on the side. I cannot get to them while the pack is on me, and so I either have to stop and take the pack off to get to water bottles, or I have to bother one of my fellow hikers all the time, hey, can you get my water bottle for me, drink, and then have them put it back for me. And on the Lost Coast Trail, that became a pain in the patootie. It really did. I was an idiot for not recognizing that it's all set up for a hydration bladder. I've got a hydration bladder. I should have brought it with me on the Lost Coast Trail. That would have been one less thing I had to constantly worry about, was stopping and getting water, But I did use it on this trip to Bear Lake. Fantastic. It was amazing. Like I said, the water is right there. And so that helps when you're taking a break. You don't have to take everything off. You don't have to, the breaks don't have to be 15-minute breaks every time. You can take a quick 5-minute breather, get some water, look around, enjoy the scenery, head on down the trail because you've gotten your water, you're hydrated, things like that. So shout out to Pioneer Bear Camp. But if any one of you who own a hydration bladder, any hydration bladder, because there's several brands out there, for me, that is just no longer an optional thing. That's just one of those things that just helps improve a backpacking trip. The other thing for me now that is not optional anymore, especially if I'm going to do any kind of elevation changes and things like that, or certain types of hiking, if I'm out here on the levee roads and stuff that I train on and things, I don't bring my trekking poles. But when I am doing any kind of, like the Lost Coast Trail, with any kind of weird terrain, any kind of elevation changes, Bear Lake trip and everything else like that, we were going up a lot and then coming back down when we were done and things like that. Trekking poles are an absolute must. They so much help the stress on the knees, the stress on my back. They're just very supportive for any kind of, on the Lost Coast Trail we had several stream crossings we had to do, and I mean the streams were only maybe a foot foot deep and stuff, and they're moving. But you're trying to balance yourself on rocks so you're not completely immersing yourself in the water. Some people just walk through stuff like that, but it's nice not to have to. And those trekking poles, they're just again invaluable. And I know those can be expensive, but so far, and I'm going to do a review on a lot of this gear. I've already reviewed my hydration bladder, but I'll be reviewing my trekking poles and some of the other gear I talk about in this. You don't have to get super expensive. So far, I have been extremely lucky. For a whole year now, I have used trekking poles that I bought at a local big box store, very cheap, under $20, and they have lasted quite a long time. They're still working, and we're not talking about little, simple little day hikes and stuff. Lost Coast Trail, up in the Sierra, several Sierra trips and things like that. A couple of fairly intense day hikes that were, 10 miles long and up and down hills and different terrain and stuff like that. And they have lasted really well. And in situations where they've had to bear my entire weight, a couple of times I've been hiking Lost Coast Trail and in this Bear Lake Trail, where either I stumble or just need that extra, I'm getting tired and I've got to get up this hill, and practically my entire weight is on these poles as I'm stopping myself from falling or getting up on top of a hill. And they've held up. They've held up fantastically for a set of poles under $20. Now, if you want to go for it and go to some of the other big sporting goods stores and spend $100 on a pair of trekking poles, you go right ahead. Because there's pros and cons to it. There really is. But so far, I have been, I'll call it lucky with the inexpensive pair of trekking poles that I have. But whether you go big with the price or small with the price, for me anyway, trekking poles are definitely a must. Because they just like I say, especially like a trail like Bear Lake, my knees and back would be punishing me a lot more than they would have been, than they did, going up and then coming back down if I didn't have those poles. To the point where I'd be afraid I may have injured a knee or two, because I've had some knee injuries from my previous career and a back injury from my previous career, and going up and down the type of trail that Bear Creek, Bear Creek, we have a Bear Creek near us, so I have to concentrate. Bear Lake was a lot of stone steps and things like that, up and down, and a lot of elevation change. I think that really would have worked my knees and my back a little too much if I didn't have those trekking poles to help me out and get my arms in on the act as well. And that could have been bad, but I think the trekking poles really helped with that. And the last item for comfort is I do, this year for the first time, I got it specifically for the Lost Coast Trail, because I wanted that little extra bit of comfort, because again, trying to enjoy these things, and if you don't sleep well at night, you wake up tired and things like that. And so I do use an inflatable pillow. Again, I use the Climate inflatable pillow. I will be doing a gear review on that. A lot of my gear reviews come toward the end of the summer, after I've had a chance to field test a lot of things, and also when we're getting into winter weather. I'm not doing as much hiking. It's that gives me things to shoot and talk about. So you'll see a lot of these gear reviews coming later on in the year, now that I field tested a whole bunch of stuff on some pretty intense trails. But yes, pillow. It's an inflatable pillow. It really helps. I'm just one of those ones where I just, I know I can put, and I still do sometimes, I can put my, one of my jackets, my puffy jacket or something, in my sleeping bag and use that as a pillow. Absolutely. I still do a little bit as a little extra neck support, but just having that little extra just makes a difference between getting 4 hours sleep and 6 hours sleep sometimes on the trail, or between 4 hours and 8 hours. It makes that big of a difference for me, and then I just get more sleep when I have a pillow like that, and therefore I'm in better shape. I have more energy, and I'm enjoying the trip better. And so again, it's just a matter of that comfort zone. I understand backpacking. You're not supposed to be living the life of luxury, but there's certain little things that do not add that much weight to the pack, if any weight at all. Because like things like the hydration bladder, it really has no real weight to it. And I'm going to carry that water anyway, whether the water's in bottles or in the hydration bag. I'm going to be carrying that weight no matter what. Okay? Trekking poles add no weight whatsoever to my load because I'm holding them in my hand, and they're helping support that weight. And the pillow, once it's deflated and rolled up, it's only about yay big, and it's a few ounces. And I know there's ultralighters out there, a few ounces, oh my God, because they measure things down to the gram. And I have never been one of those. That's just not my background for backpacking. Power to the folks who do it. It's awesome. I don't, and so that couple of ounces does not make a difference to me, especially compared to what I get out of it. If I get a couple extra hours sleep because that pillow helps support me like that, that's far more important to me on a backpacking trip than shaving off a couple ounces from my pack weight. So, and that's me. So there we go. Optional things that for some people aren't really optional. They become a necessity for backpacking. If you have any other kinds of things that some people consider optional that you decide you absolutely need to have on a trip, let me know in the comments. You can get a hold of me, as usual, at hikingforhealthca@gmail.com. You can leave a comment below this video. Leave a comment on any of the videos I do, and I will be flagged and see that. And you can also get a hold of me at hikingforhealthca on both Instagram and Facebook. Got a Facebook page of that same title. And as usual, you guys, thank you, as always, so much for sticking with me and watching my goofy videos. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. And that's about it for this week. Optional things that are actually quite necessary for some of us because they just give you that extra edge and that much more enjoyment on a trip. What do you think? Let me know if you are interested in commenting. That'd be fantastic. And as always, I will see y'all next week.